So areas of focus as I look at 2012 and 2013 from my perspective really reflect the positions of the board and the priorities that we've put into place as a board of directors with the Canadian Seed Trade Association. One of those areas, though, where I'd like to spend some additional time is on communication with producers. As we look across the country, we still have a number of producers who do not see the value of investment in seed innovation. And we see clearly in crops that include corn and canola and soybeans where there has been investment and the vehicles are in place to allow for investment in those crops and through the grower paying for technology access. We've seen a couple of things. First of all, we've seen that investment occur, and we see the farmer having access to a tremendous range of new tools that they didn't have before that produce both higher yields and provide better agronomics in the field. And what we want to see is an environment in Canada from an intellectual property perspective, intellectual property protection perspective, that allows for producers in other crops such as cereals to see seed innovation in those crops and to see some of the tools come forward that growers in other countries are able to experience that will allow them to increase their yields and profitability on the farm. So beyond that, producer communications, a couple of other areas where we need to ensure as a seed association that we are advocating on behalf of our membership, which is really advocating on behalf of what is going to benefit our customers at the end of the day, which are producers. One of those things is the need to be involved and to reflect the needs of our membership across the board in international trade policy. And that includes areas such as low-level presence. And as negotiations occur on a global scale, we need to make sure that the unique aspects of the seed industry are respected within those negotiations to ensure that we're able to continue to develop new seed varieties in this country and that we're able to export seed and import seed on a timely basis to ensure that that innovation occurs. So one of the other areas that we want to focus on as an association as we head into 2013 has been an area of focus over the last couple of years, and that is attracting talent to our industry. If we look forward, one of the toughest areas that we have to address is having and attracting the talent that we need to be the leadership of tomorrow in the seed industry. And so we've made a concerted effort and we've invested in a number of tactics to support that strategy as an organization, including our Campus Ambassador program, including our panel that we put together of future influencers for the Grow Canada conference. And these are areas where we want to create outreach to students, and we want to increase that not only in terms of reaching college and university students, but of reaching high school students, for example, as we go forward. So we need to start attracting talent, not just to agriculture, but if we can attract them to agriculture, then we can attract them to the seed industry. And there's never been a better time to be in the seed industry than where we are today. It's a tremendous future as the base of the investment in terms of the products that farmers are going to utilize from a technology perspective. And the one nice thing about the seed industry is that there are a number of different roles that individuals can play within the industry. And because it's such a dynamic environment, you're not fixed in one role as you enter it. And so it becomes attractive in industry, not only to agricultural students, but I think we have to reach out beyond that in order to have a large enough talent pool. And we need to go into urban centers. We need to go to universities that traditionally are non-ag based. And we need to talk about the seed industry and the opportunities for careers that are present in the seed industry. And I think if we can be successful at expanding our outreach program in those areas, we're going to be able to have a strong talent pool going forward for all of our membership so that we can go into the future confident that we'll be able to meet the needs of our customers going forward. So the seed industry is really evolving and mirroring what we're seeing in agriculture as a whole in terms of the evolution of agriculture within the country. And I think what we're seeing today is one of the most dynamic and robust environments that we've ever seen within the seed industry. And that's really reflected with the activities that we're seeing across the country within the seed industry. In terms of specific trends, I think one of the things that we've seen for a number of years now, but will probably increase as we go forward, is that seed is seen as the vehicle to bring new technology to producers. That can be either through genetics, or it can be through traits, or it can be through seed treatments. And so we've seen a great deal of investment in the seed industry from companies that go beyond traditional genetics development, and seeing involvement of those companies within the Canadian Seed Trade Association as well. And so this is a sign of a healthy investment environment within the industry. It has really raised the plateau of seed in terms of being that vehicle of delivery to the producer. And so it's an exciting time from that perspective. In addition to that, I think we're seeing not only those companies coming through, but we're seeing additional companies from different areas that are looking at the seed sector as a possible area to translate value to the producer. And so that's a very positive thing for the seed industry as a whole as we go forward. So another trend that we see is when we look at the seed industry is producers are looking, as producers increase in size, we see a real movement towards the need for simpler solutions that allow for efficiency. And they allow for efficiencies for producers at planting in particular, because we're trying to get a large number of acres in the ground during an ideal time frame, which is a very small window in time in the spring. And so what's interesting about that then is the seed industry is developing a range of solutions to simplify things for the producer. Ironically, as we make things simpler for the producer, it makes things actually more difficult and takes away some of the efficiencies that we see at the processing level. And this can be things from when we see in corn, refuge in the bag. It can be in soybeans, for instance, pre-inoculation on the seed of inoculants at the seed processing facility versus producers having to do that in the field at the planter. And so all of these things hold a great number of benefits for the producer in terms of efficiency, in terms of the quality of the product that's going into the ground. But there's additional cost to the seed processing side to doing that. And so that's reflected in the value of the seed that is now being sold to the marketplace. And I think growers in general, particularly in this type of commodity environment, understand that to make things more efficient for them, to see that additional value through the year in terms of their crop, they're willing to pay that additional price that it takes to get that value to the field. Third, I think what we're seeing in terms of trends in the marketplace and some of the things the seed industry have been working on for a long time, and that is the development of a policy framework that facilitates investment in the seed industry, and recognition that in order for Canadian producers and the Canadian seed industry to be competitive on a global scale, we have to have a policy framework that supports innovation and investment in innovation. And I think what we are seeing today is not only from support from producer groups, but also support within the government to change some of the policies that have actually been putting Canada behind on a competitive level around the world. I think in the Canadian tradition in a lot of areas, CSTA has always played a very positive role on the world stage. And the Canadian delegation and Canadian representatives on the various association bodies, whether it be ISF or the Seed Association of the Americas, or other global bodies where CSTA has been involved with over time, Canada is very well respected on the world stage in terms of our approach to seed regulations, in terms of our approach to seed trade on a broader scale. Moving forward, I think in terms of how does Canada even strengthen through the CSTA our representation on the seed side, I think what the CSTA is trying to do now is to engage its members, and so that we've got a broader membership involvement at the international level. So we've got staff involvement, but we're also seeing broader involvement from our members. And that's important because our members are involved in some of these areas day to day. And so when they are involved on the international committees, they are directly reflecting their experiences in terms of international trade, in terms of international development and genetics development, all these other areas where the international discussions are important in terms of ensuring that we have continued access to not only material to bring back to Canada, but more importantly that we have open markets to take our products to other parts of the world. I think one of the things that's important for Canada to maintain a role of integrity in the international market and with international representatives representing our seed industry is that it's really important then that underlying our marketplace here in Canada that we've got a policy environment that is congruent with what we're trying to see at an international level. And I think we are making strides in that area with the Canadian government in several areas in terms of low-level presence, in terms of improving intellectual property protection, including the adoption of UPOV 1991 finally. I mean, these are areas where if we get concurrency in policy, it gives Canadian representatives a lot better credibility when we're going out and working with other countries around the world. So at Pride Seeds, one of the things that we've identified a few years ago was the importance that social media was going to play in terms of communicating our messages to customers. And that's just not messages about specific products or in terms of the sales and marketing of specific products. But perhaps more importantly is the agronomic positioning of not just our products but anybody else's products, so that farmers can best utilize the technology that they're planting to increase the yields in the farm. So social media tools, which started with our Prod Seeds blog as an example, is one of those tools that we're utilizing to reach customers with relevant and timely information. And that also includes the adoption of Facebook and more recently the adoption of Twitter. And between that and our website, all of these tools play an integrated role in terms of reaching the producer through social media, which is becoming a much more relevant and increasingly used tool by our customers when compared to traditional media sources. And I think a lot of the media sources are adapting their offering to the marketplace as well, so that social media and the tools that can be accessed on a timely basis by customers, whether it's on their mobile phones, on their smartphones, or whether it's in the tractor while they're planting with the auto steer. I mean, the ability or the need, farmers are looking to access information on a very timely and fast basis. And the Pride Seeds blog and these other tools just give us a means to do that. As a company, what we have focused on the last number of years is a couple of overall goals. And the first is being able to provide producers with products that increase their yield and profitability. And so we want to be at the forefront in terms of introducing not only the best genetics, but also the technologies that will allow farmers to protect their crops and to increase that yield potential. So this overall goal in terms of increasing on-farm yield really drives both our product development and our technology adoption process. So the secondary goal that we have then is that we want to be one of the leaders in the marketplace in terms of adopting new technologies. And that could be new technologies that is in or on the seed, or it could be new technologies that we adopt in terms of our processing capabilities as a company. So those are sort of the two overriding goals. So as a result of those goals, we've been very aggressive in terms of what's being new. We've been very aggressive with Refuge in the Bag on the seed corn side. That is a very integral technology as we go forward that simplifies many things for the producers and also leads to automatic refuge compliance. We were one of the first companies and probably the first to have a fully integrated Refuge in the Bag plant capabilities in terms of our processing capacity, and so that investment was made last year as one of the first in Canada and the first with a fully integrated system. From a soybean perspective, not only introducing new Roundup Ready to Yield genetics, but really focusing on how can we increase yield in soybeans, which has been a tougher area as compared to corn over the last few years. And so what we've really focused on is a system where we're fully loading the soybean with not only a seed treatment to provide that early season disease and insect protection, but also an inoculant to give the health benefits and to give the nitrogen fixing capabilities to increase yield potential in the farm. And so those two areas are really where a lot of our effort has been focused over the last couple of years. For myself, and I talk about this from a company perspective, but also as a corn producer, is I see Refuge in the Bag as really one of the most, if not the most important technology that has been introduced in the marketplace since the first BT corn was introduced in the mid-1990s. And the reason I say that is twofold. First of all, up until now, we've had to plant a 20% refuge block in fields. And that requires some planning. It also requires some discipline to ensure that we're planting that 20% refuge. And the 20% refuge has really been designed to ensure the integrity of that technology going forward for future generations. But not everybody planted that refuge. And so there was a lot of questions coming forward in terms of how can we get producers to protect the technology so that it'll last into the future. How can we simplify that, how that can be done? And really the Refuge in the Bag has done that. So not only are we increasing our yield potential by going from a 20% block refuge down to a 5% refuge in the bag, so we've got the traded technology on 15% more of the acres, so we're getting a yield potential increase there. But what we're also doing with the refuge, 5% refuge being in the bag, is that the refuge compliance is automatic. And so that really simplifies things. So a grower, instead of going to the field and having really two different bags, one being a refuge hybrid, one being the main hybrid with the trait in it, Now producers can go to the field with one bag and increase their yield and be automatically compliant on the refuge. So this is really is very significant, and we see that in the adoption over the first year last year. The adoption was really overnight, and we had customers that automatically would switch to a refuge in the bag product if it was available and the hybrids of their choice. Very short term, the issue is rainfall in Ontario, and so we've got a lot of dry pockets here in 2012, and to this point, I think most of the seed companies in our membership would say that from the seed corn side that they're in pretty good shape, but we need timely rains from now until harvest to ensure we've got a good high quality seed crop. On the soybean side, there's a number of dry pockets across the province, so some timely rains would be very beneficial to ensuring that we've got the type of seed supply that we need as an industry heading into to 2013. From a longer term sense, I think it's something that I've already mentioned, which is that producers are really looking for simplified solutions to take to the field. Efficiency is everything, and so it's one of the things that makes the seed and the investment in the seed in terms of the technologies that we're looking at to increase yield very attractive, because it becomes a very simplified solution to take to the field. But as we simplify things at the producer level, we are creating additional costs on the processing side. And so it's justifying that value to the producer as an industry that we're able to bring these solutions forward. And that will make things simpler, but at the same time there is an investment involved that we have to recapture as a company in order to move forward as a company. Any company in the industry for that matter. So this is one of the things that we have to continually, I guess, justify to our customer bases. There's reasons why we're doing this. And at the end of the day, what we've seen over the last number of years is that producers are willing to pay for the value that they see at the end of the day coming forward. As we go forward in terms of challenges, then when we look at, and it's not only corn and soybean seed production, but it's across the country, I think the regulatory environment is changing, and we see that the government is changing its roles in terms of service delivery. And so when we talk about areas of seed inspection, we're going to see changes as we go forward. And so I think as an industry, we have to evolve to work with the government in different areas where the seed industry is going to need to take on additional responsibilities, or be able to work with service delivery systems that are different than from in the past. So I think these are some of the things that are going to evolve over time that the seed industry will adapt to.